pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Secretary, will you take the roll?
Miss Diane Zantini,
Present.
Miss Beverly Lewis Moss, absent.
Ms. Loss is going to be late.
Okay,
She's running a little bit behind.
okay. Miss Kaminsky,
Present.
Mr. Barry Powers, another late one.
Yep.
Mr. Jared Maynard,
Present.
Miss Lisa Valerio Nauk,
Present.
present. And Mr. Michael Scott,
Absent.
absent.
I have one item to the agenda that I would like to read, and I would like to place it, so I need a motion to read a correspondence, add to the agenda a correspondence, and then proceed as presented.
So moved.
I can't make a motion.
You can't make a motion. I make a motion to read the correspondence as described by Mr. Maynard.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Take a roll call, please.
Miss Zantini,
Yes.
Miss Kaminsky?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I should have said Miss Kaminsky.
Yes.
Miss Valerio Nauk, yes. Miss Zantini, yes. Mr. Jared Maynard.
Yes. Motion passes. I will now read the correspondence. It comes as a shock to me and to others on this board. Dear board members, interim superintendent, and community, I have served on the Clintondale Community School Board for the last 14 years. I am grateful for the time I have spent working with various superintendents, district leaders, employees, and the community. We have moved mountains together, including recovering the district from catastrophic deficit we inherited when I began my tenure. The last 9 months have been difficult. I was diagnosed with cancer, required surgery, and now I'm cancer-free. That experience has shown me a different perspective. There is never a good time to step away from a commitment. We have always worked, we always have more work to accomplish. However, with the time commitments required to continue, I have found it best for me to resign at this time. I wish for the best for our new superintendent, and I am confident that he will take the district in the right direction. I would also like to thank each employee at the Clintondale Community Schools for all they do to make this a great school district. Please accept my resignation effective immediately. Respectfully, Michael Scott, President of the School Board. I'll need a motion to accept his resignation, or should we do that at 6:30?
Motion to accept.
Hold on, 6:30?
Why don't you wait till 6:30 and read it again, and then
Oh, that way we
everyone-
have a fuller audience.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. With that being read, I will be chairing the meeting, and I guess the new school board president. So, public comment. We encourage you to voice your opinion on the topics on the agenda. Please raise your hand to be recognized by the chairperson and state your name before commenting. To provide the opportunity for all to participate, board policy limits each individual item to 3 minutes. Anybody like to have public comment? Seeing no public comment, we close the public comment portion. We move to the public hearing. Public hearing regarding the proposed 2023 to 2024 budgets. Public discussion on the proposed 23-24 budgets. The property tax millage rate to be levied to support the proposed general fund budget will be subject of this hearing. The board may not adopt the proposed budget until after the public hearing. So I turn this over to Holly. Thank you, Holly. We'll turn your presentation on.
Thank you, Mr. Maynard. All right. So jumping right into it, and you guys should all have these slides in front of you. First, going to just start off with a snapshot of what the final proposed budget for 22-23 looks like. So the fund balance of the general fund at June 30 of 22 was $4.76 million, or 14.52% of general fund expenditures. fund balance, at the time of the amendment that was done back in February, at that time, the projected fund balance was 3.87 million, or 12.22% of operating expenditures. And then fast forwarding to the fund balance, that's included in the final amendment that will be on the 6:30 meeting agenda, or being recommended for adoption today, is 4.62 million, or 13.65% of expenditures. So as you can see, ended up a little better than where we thought we would be mid-year. So just wanted to give a snapshot there of where things landed. And then just a little bit of commentary as it pertains to, again, looking at the current year that we're in right now, that's ending in a couple days. The final amendment contemplates purchases and essentially accruals, or anything that's encumbered now through the end of the year. So that's estimated for the projecting out for whatever remains this year. So the final balances, including all final closing entries, won't actually be finalized and determined until fall. So as of June 30th of 23, we're projecting that we know that $6.7 million of ESSER formula funds will have been spent with the related revenue included in fund balance. So what that means is if you're looking at the total fund balance that's projected to be there at June 30th of 4.62 million. If you were to take out that 6.7 million in ESSER that's already been spoken for, the district would be in a deficit. So if not for ESSER, we would already be in the red. Lastly, just one more comment on the ESSER formula funds as we look into the proposed budget for the upcoming year. There's about $2.08 million left to obligate, and that does have to be obligated by September of 2024. So the budget that we're looking at for the 23-24 year contemplates all of that being spent and spoken for in this coming fiscal year. So now jumping into kind of a snapshot of the 23-24 budget. And again, this is just a summary of what you'll see in the actual resolutions. It's just in a more friendly format. So total revenue for the year is projected to be 28.86 million. And I'll kind of talk through the assumptions as I'm going through these, just so you can kind of see the numbers as I talk through the assumptions. But those are on another slide if you want to kind of see them side by side. So as it pertains to local revenue, the operating property taxes collected are derived from 18 mills levied on non-homestead properties and 6 mills levied on commercial personal property. The state revenue is largely estimated right now based on the revenue estimating conferences from the state and the budgets that have been proposed by the Senate, House, and Governor. Those haven't been finalized by the state yet, unless something's changed in the last couple hours. I haven't checked recently, but I have not heard. So until that budget is passed by the state, it's really kind of an educated guessing game in terms of what's going to come through from those 3 different proposals at the state level. But based on the recommendations from what we've seen in what's been proposed for the state budgets, the state revenue that you see that's included in the proposed budget for 23-24 contemplates total blended membership of 1822 pupils, and that's based on a 90-10 split between the fall and spring supplemental counts, and a foundation allowance of $9,608 per pupil. And again, that's based on what we're anticipating will be the outcome when the state budget is passed. Also, the grant allocations for fellow grants and for state categorical grants, so that restricted revenue, those also don't get finalized until later in the year. So at this point, when we're building out the projected original budget, those are all just based on estimated allocations, and those will get finalized at around the time that the budget amendment happens. And then looking at general fund expenditures, total expenditures for the year are estimated to be approximately 31.49, almost 31.5 million. And just a couple notes about those. So just a general comment that the proposed budget reflects funding of mandated costs, substantiated costs for current programs, and initiatives required to reach goals of high academically performing skills and fiscal accountability. Said differently, we're required to do certain things with certain dollars, and that's all built into the budget, such as, we gotta abide by contracts, have to make sure that we're following all the grant rules, things of that nature. As it relates to compensation expenditures, these are based on bargaining units and approved non-unit contracts that are in place for the 23-24 year. Projected retirement costs are based on anticipated increases in the MIPSRS rates. Those were just released late last week, so a estimate of what that increase would look like in the budget, what is included in there. And those are set by the state each year, and they're not flexible, so really it's a non-controllable variable that's in the budget. Employee health benefits were adjusted to reflect anticipated increases in rates and anticipated employer hard cap limits that are adjusted annually. Those hard cap limits are adjusted annually per PA 152. All right, so if we kind of combine the revenues and expenditures, here's a snapshot of what the proposed 23-24 general fund budget looks like. So take the 28.8 million in revenues less the 31.5 in expenditures, gets us to a net revenue or a total use of operating expenditures in excess of revenue of 2.6 million. So if we look at the projected fund balance that's included in your final budget for the fiscal year we're currently about to end, and take the net expenditures deducted from that, that'll leave a projected fund balance at June 30th of 2024 of $1,981,474. And again, these are just the notes that I went through on the expenditures, or the assumptions. Sorry. So that's the summary of the general fund, and then I'll just quickly point out what the budgets for the special revenue funds are as well. So child care fund is projected for this current fiscal year, again at June 30th of 23, going into the next year. Projected fund balance is about $344,000, and a small increase is expected in 23-24, ending at $362,873. Looking at the food service fund, the fund balance at June 30, 23 is projected to be $2,369, and an increase is expected in the coming year. That will leave the fund balance at June 30 of 24 at projected to be $404,630. Lastly, student activities, total revenues are expected of $63,562, plus expenditures of $65,998, and this is just because of timing differences of what's in the ledger now that's kind of being rolled forward, that you see a little bit of difference there. Generally, it'll net out to zero. So the fund balance projected for this current school year is about $57,527. And then going into looking at June 30 of 24, we're looking at $5,091.
55,000?
Sorry, $55,091. Yes, thank you.
Holly, does that conclude your presentation?
It does, yes.
Does any board member have any questions of Holly?
I do not.
Ms. Snow? Santini? I just have something. On the special food service budget.
Yep.
We talked in finance. We know we have to spend that amount down. They do have a plan coming, correct?
Correct, yeah, usually it's kind of an informal or fluid process with the state that as you expect to get there, then you'll get a notice or have to turn in a plan. So it's contemplated in the capital equipment line there, that $165,000. That's generally easiest way to spend down the fund balance or the most, best investment, I'll put it that way. So I put a reserve in there for that, but in terms of identifying exactly what is needed, that'll have to be something that, that we talk about as we go, so.
Okay. Also on the special care revenue budget, we talked about the, this dollar amount. I want the other board members to know in finance what this was. This 362,873 is money. We still have those 2 classrooms opening up. So the 362 really isn't 362. It's gonna be a little less. Barb, did I get that right?
Correct.
Okay. So I just want you guys to be aware that once those 2 classrooms open up, it'll come down a little bit, and then we'll be moving forward for everything else. Holly, thank you very much. Okay, I guess that ends our public hearing. And I-
Motion to
looking
adjourn?
for a motion to adjourn.
That's the last thing on here.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
I support.
Roll call.
Lisa Valerio now, yes. Alicia Kaminsky,
Yes.
Diane Santini,
Yes.
David Maynard.
Yes. We are adjourned at 6:04 PM.
You got it.